I hope I don't die. Like, oops. I could help it. Mm-mm. No, because what ended up happening is that my special case self was trying to play a game and I was not feeling it. So we have a neighbor, which is obviously an updated remake of the classic Japanese horror visual novel. I'm in it for the win it. The reason why I also like this because I also like playing fucking horror games. So that is a plus plus. Understand that this is gonna take a role of protagonist. Understand I'm not Japanese, so if I'm gonna say this wrong, I'm gonna say this wrong. I'm gonna do my best. Yuuki Kae is the protagonist Yuuki Kae, as she investigates the mysterious and terrifying events happening in her new apartment building. So it's fully voiced in Japanese, which is thank God, makes me fucking happy about that. No one ever saw me do that. That has never happened before. Let's not worry about that. It was a perfectly ordinary apartment. 2 bedrooms for just under the 80 guinea. Yeah. Yeah. Personally, I felt it was a little pricey for a unit in a relatively suburban neighborhood area, but I let it go after a while. Can't have everything, I thought. It was a good location with plenty of stores in the area, and I did not realize that I was going to be speaking. And I had the broccoli with me. The building itself was under a decade old, and both the interior and exterior were maintained quite well. I'm sorry, I'm vibing out. The perfect home office was a 30-something the perfect home office for a 30-something single woman, I'd say. Once the movers left, I spent the next few hours unpacking, and by the time I was done, the sun has okay. I was done. Oh, stop me right there. By the time I was done, the sun had nearly set. Once the movers left, I spent the next few hours unpacking. And by the time I was done, the sun had nearly set. Oh, wait. The view from the balcony was a little more than a vacant lot. So I decided the curtains could wait until tomorrow. Nah, the curtains should have been the first thing to go. What another day, right? What's another day, right? My utilities were already set up, so I decided I'd swing by to introduce myself to my new neighbors before grabbing a slightly early dinner. My apartment, 201, was located in a 4-story building. There were 2 sets of stairs, one right outside my apartment and one on the opposite end of the hall next to apartment 206. There was a parking lot for residents out front, as well as a separate building where the aging landlady lived. According to her, this land was used to be a rice field until they paved it over to build a complex. She even showed me the old electronic cultivator gathering dust out behind her house. As far as retirement income though, I could easily see why she made the switch. Given the small amount of oh my god, you have a small amount. Given the small size of the complex, proper social etiquette likely dictate that I ought to go and greet every single resident, but that was a bit old-fashioned for my taste. Instead, I decided I'd limit myself to the neighbors, directly sharing walls and ceiling and floor with me. And as well as the landlady herself, I grabbed their gifts and walked out. My last apartment was right in the middle of downtown, and I never even saw my neighbors when I lived there. No need to go out, I figured. I stepped outside and was immediately greeted by the last lingering rays of the setting sun stretching out over my path. Using my brand new key, I carefully locked the door and then walked over to apartment 202. I pressed the button on the intercom and I heard a faint ringing sound from inside. A gentle breeze brushed past as I waited for a response, but the silence lingered. Maybe they're not home right now, I thought. Just in case they didn't hear, I gave the button one more push. Again, I heard a faint ringing sound from the other side of the metal door. Then it stopped. I waited. No response. Nothing. Evidently no one was around. I considered simply leaving their gifts hanging from the doorknob, but ultimately decided against it. I didn't want to risk freaking them out with an unwanted package present from a mysterious sender. Instead, I turned and made for the stairs, but before I could take another step, I heard a soft sound behind me. Sounded like the intercom static. Who's trying to contact us? Maybe my neighbors had finally picked up. I returned back and stood in front of the intercom camera.
隣の201号室に越してきた結城と申しますが、ご挨拶に来ました。
I love me some good Japanese audio with the subtitles. Hi, my name is Yuki. I moved in next door to 201. Just thought I'd stop by. Couldn't hurt to introduce myself. After a brief blip of static, I heard them hang up. But no one came to the door. Unsure what to do, I paused there for a moment. Then the doorknob turned. Apparently, they were home after all. Well, a reply would have been nice. Sheesh, I thought to myself. But just as I got their gift ready. The doorknob suddenly began to jerk in all directions, where moments before it had been perfectly still. Instantly, a chill shot down my spine. Holding the gift, I took off running to the stairs behind me. The crack of the opening door grated on my eardrums. As I rounded the corner, I caught one final glimpse of the door 202, and it sent goosebumps prickling up my arms. There was a ghostly pale hand reaching out from the door. but I retracted oh my god, a split second later, immediately following by the low clunk of the door shutting once more.
今のは
Gotta tell me what was that? I collapsed onto the stairs, my legs quaking. For a moment, I debated heading up to the third floor, but after a moment of thought, I carefully crawled my way back down the hall. Slowly, I peered around the corner at the door to apartment 202. It was firmly closed. It was then I realized I had probably just made a colossal ass of myself. And still, I had absolutely no intentions of going back and giving it another shot. Apartment 301 was occupied by a male resident. As perhaps expected of a single bachelor, the young man appeared at the door in a scruffy attire. Regardless, I was relieved to meet a normal person for once. He looked to be younger than I was. He scratched his head and he blinked sleepily at me. Parentheses, what I said before, what I said again. Her name is Yuki. She's introduced herself. 201 downstairs. Sorry if I woke you. Being a freelancer myself, I was in no position to judge him for keeping a weird sleep schedule. He didn't look too thrilled about being awake, and I felt guilty for disturbing him.
Yeah. すみません。論文の締め切り前でちょっと仮眠を取ってたもんですから。
Okay, Daigo. No, sorry. I got a thesis due in a few hours, so I was just taking a quick nap.
大学生ですか?
Tella, are you in college? Why does it sound like them introducing yourselves? Because I've been. You gotta be somebody. When you learn a different language, you know, they have the little regular introductions. This just took me out for a second. Then I'm thinking like, oh, I'm taking Japanese classes. Because you'll see like, you hear like the Japanese audio, you look at the words, and I'm like, I know it's like an everyday thing, but I don't know, I think that's super hilarious.
Yeah.
He said grad school actually. He went on to explain that his graduate school was a part of a hard sciences focused university located in the suburbs about a 30-minute drive away. And then he's like, on first impression, he seemed nice, though perhaps not interested in maintaining his appearance if his black rimmed glasses and sweatpants were any indication. Then again, presentability isn't exactly the point of pajamas. Still, compared to the fright I just had at 202, I could forgive even the most outlandish of attires.
Yuki-san はどこかにお勤めですか?
What about you, Yuki-san?
いえ、自宅でデザインの仕事をしています。
Oh, I'm a web designer.
昼夜問わず仕事をしているので、
I work all hours of the day and night. Whenever my clients need me, I'll try not to be too loud though.
ああ、大丈夫です。僕も論文を書くときはそうですし、ここは壁も床も天井も分厚いから。
Oh, it's all good. I mean, I don't worry about it, ma'am. I'm usually pretty late myself whenever I have an essay due. The walls are pretty thick here anyway.
これつまらないものですが、ご挨拶の品です。
That's good. Here, this is for you. Just a small trifle from one neighbor to another. As I spoke, I held out his gift, a small carton of laundry detergent. I had chosen to play it safe with something boring and practical. The man, whose name was Bro, I swear to God, Hisamatsu Daigo. If the label on the package sitting by the door was any indication, took it from me with a sleepy half smile.
すみません、気を使っていただいて。
Thanks, that's really nice of you. For a young guy, he seemed to have a firm grasp of social etiquette. This came as a huge relief. Now I'm confirmed at least one of my neighbors to be a reasonable individual. I decided it was time to get going.
僕、久松って言います。何かあったら気軽に声をかけてください。
Hisamatsu.
夕方以降はだいたい家にいますから。
Anyway, the name's Himatsu. I'm typically at home in the evenings these days, so feel free to hit me up or contact me if you need anything.
ありがとうございます。じゃあ他にも挨拶をするところがありますので。
Thank you so much. Alright, well, I'm going to say hi to my other neighbors, so I'll be seeing you.
はい。じゃあ、
Cool then. I realized he started to say something, so I stopped and turned back.
いえ、じゃあ僕も論文に戻りますんで。失礼します。
He's like, oh, it's nothing. I better get back to my thesis. Nice talking with you. With that, our conversation came to an end, and the heavy iron door clunked shut. I didn't like how it ended though. Judging from the look of his face, there had been something else on top of the tip of his tongue. Oh well. I had no sense fighting over things outside my control. Shifting the remaining gifts in my arm, I headed for the stairs once more. Was he about to ask me out to dinner or something?
まさかね。
Yeah, right. Shaking the silly thought from my mind, I headed down from the stairs, my footsteps echoing off the walls. Thankfully, the Ikuda family in apartment 101 seemed perfectly ordinary. I was greeted with a light, pleasant scent as the mother of the household poked her head out from the door.
上の201に引っ越してきた結城です。よろしくお願いします。
Yo, yo, yo. Once again, we're about to say our introduction, and that we're at 201.
上にですか？
What? You moved in upstairs?
はい、今日からなんですけど、何か？
Yeah, just today actually. Is something wrong?
あ、いえ、全然気がつかなかったもので。
She's like, oh, no, I just didn't notice. That's all. She smiled stiffly, her face pale, ignoring the yellow flag in my mind. I held up her gift.
これつまらないものなんですが。
This is just for you. Just a little something. But we're supposed to be a girl's girl, so I don't know why you think that you ain't gonna tell me anything. Isn't that awkward? Isn't that weird?
まあ、わざわざすみません。
You shouldn't have. Repeating what I've told the last neighbor, I held out the detergent. Just then, a pair of little hands shot out from behind her, and I grabbed it.
こんにちは、お姉ちゃん。
Hi, Miss Lady. And I grabbed it.
こんにちは。
Hi there, sweetheart. That's more like it. 10 points for not calling me ma'am.
上のお部屋に引っ越してきたの？
She's like, did you move upstairs? Yes, we did, bro.
結城かえっていうの。お
My
名前教
name's
えてくれる？
Yuuki Kae. What's yours?
生田睦美。
Ita Matsuni. Oh, so it's like a little ikta? Probably, I don't know.
むつみちゃんか。いくつ？
It's nice to meet you. Matsumi-chan, how old are you?
6歳。
Ooh, I'm 6.
小学生かな。
Are you a first grader?
4月からなの。
Uh-huh. I started school in April.
1年生か。
How
お嬢さ
exciting.
ん、しっかりしてますね。
What a mature young one we have here.
ええ、まあ。
The mom's like, yeah, she certainly is. Masumi's mother looked slightly relieved that the conversation had shifted focus to her daughter. Maybe she had her guard up answering the door. She didn't know me after all. At least that's what I decided to tell myself.
ねえ、お姉ちゃん。
Hey, Miss Lady.
ん？何？
What is it, sweetie?
お姉ちゃんはすぐに引っ越しちゃったりしないよね。
You won't move away tomorrow, will you?
え？それってどういう意味？
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
むつみ！
Oh. The woman's shrill voice rang throughout the corridor. I looked up shortly to find her white as a sheet, her lip trembling.
生田さん？
Ita-san?
すみません。これから夕食の準備がありますので。むつみ、お部屋に行ってなさい。
Pardon me, I really need to start getting dinner ready. Let's me go to your room.
でも、お姉ちゃんとお話ししたいよ。
She's like, but I want to talk to the lady.
いいから。
That's kind of awkward. She said, I'd go to your room. Something must have set off Mama Bear, I thought to myself. Baffled though I was, I could take a hint. It was time for me to go.
私も他に挨拶をするところがありますので、これで失礼します。
I actually have other people I need to meet, so don't mind me. I could practically see the relief written all over her face.
じゃあむつみちゃん、またね。
See you around, Mitsumi-chan. Why can't I say see you around, Mitsumi? Why can I say that? Why can't that be translated? Like, I know what sign is, but like... I waved goodbye and stepped back.
お姉ちゃん、バイバイ。
Bye-bye, Miss Lady. Her little voice was drowned out by the heavy clunk of the door slammed in my face. Why would Ikta-san seem to instantly dislike me? I only just got here. Surely I haven't done anything to warrant that kind of attitude. I thought about it for a bit, then I shrugged it off. Call it intuition or a small voice in the back of my head. But something told me that I'll understand someday. For a moment, I simply stared at the 2 remaining cartons of detergent in my arms. Then I decided it was time to pay my landlady a visit. Walking out of the apartment, I cut across the parking lot and headed to the standalone building that served as the landlady's personal abode. In contrast to the main building, the landlady's house was fairly old and outfitted with a large garden. According to my real estate agent, most of the houses in the area belonged to rice farmers turned millionaires after their property values skyrocketed. They told me that it wasn't altogether uncommon to see apartment buildings constructed right next to the landowner's home. Adjusting my grip on the 2 remaining cartons of laundry detergent, I walked up to the old, faded door and rang the doorbell.
はーい。
Oh, she was like, hello. An elegant feminine voice answered.
本日引っ越してきた結城ですけど。
Yo, 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 it's me, Yuki, your new tenant.
ああ、
Well,
は
she
い
said.
はい。ゆうきさんね。
Oh, I
今開
see.
けますから。
Yuki, is it? I'll be right there. The words had scarcely left her lips when the front door slid open, and there she was, my landlady. The last time I seen her was during the lease signing a few days prior. Her name was, goddamn, Inamano-san? Inamano. And I estimated her to be around the same age as my own mother. Her face lit up as soon as she spotted me.
そういえば今日引っ越しだったのよね。お疲れ様でした。
That's right. You moved in today, didn't you? Welcome, welcome.
いえ、これからお世話になります。
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
あらあら、こちらこそよろしく。
She's like, good, we're happy to have you. I had a fondness for these sort of polite exchanges. Japanese humility at its finest.
これ大したものじゃないんですが、ご挨拶がてら持ってきました。よかったら
This is
使
for
ってください。
you. Just a little something I figure you could use. I thought I'll bring it over as sort of a thank you gift. Perhaps detergent wasn't the most apt gift for my new landlady. Still, in my experience, women tend to appreciate practical gifts like these, and older women especially. Sure enough, Inamoto-san smiled warmly and took the carton from my hand.
あら嬉しい。まあまあ、気を使ってくださって。
Well, I'll be. Aren't you thoughtful? Bless your heart. That left me with just one carton. I thought back to my experience with apartment 202. Surely the landlady ought to know what sort of person lives there, I thought.
私の隣ってどんな方が住んでるんでしょうか。
Say, just wondering, but, who lives next door to me?
隣。
Next door?
ええ、202号室です。
Yeah, in apartment 202. I saw her face twitch. She was clearly rattled by my question.
隣はどなたもいらっしゃいませんよ。
No one. There's no one living next to you.
え、
What?
お隣は空き室なんです。どなたも住んでませんよ。
The apartment next to yours is empty. No one lives there.
誰もですか。
No one?
ええ、
Yeah, correct.
確かにですか。
Are you sure?
ええ。
Quite sure. She's like quite sure. There was an obvious pause in her answer. But at this point, I was too panicked to care. If no one lived there, then how would you explain the intercom static? The rattling doorknob? The door opening? The hand.
誰かが入り込んでるなんてことはないですよね。
Okay. Is it possible someone's squatting there illegally?
鍵は私が保管してますし、何より今はあの部屋は貸し出してませんから。
Of course not. I keep the key with me. That apartment isn't for rent in the first place.
でも私見たんです。ドアが開いたの。
Girl, damn, just take a hint. She's like, but I saw it. I saw the door open.
そんな、まさか。
What? That's not possible. Her smile was stiff, her voice shaky. What was she hiding in there?
本当なんです。中から人の手が出て。
And she continues to talk about it. Like, come on now. Let's think about this rationally. It's the truth. Someone reached out from inside and...
だってあそこは空き家なんですよ。
I'm telling you, the apartment is completely empty.
じゃあ不審者が入り込んでるのかも。確認してみてください。
Still at it. Well, in that case, could you just check to see if there's anyone hiding out in there?
でも
What?
隣がちゃんと空き室だってわからないと安心して住めませんから。
I need to know the apartment is empty so I can feel safe living there. Here.
わかりました。マスターキーを取ってきますから少し待っててくださいね。
Very well. I'll go grab the master key, so just sit tight for a moment.
はい。
Okay. I was desperate. I needed to verify with my own two eyes because I knew what I'd seen. A violet, rattling doorknob. A door that opened on its own. And then a single hand. After a moment, Imatsu-san returned, master key in hand. She seemed rather tensed. That said, given the nature of my claim, I couldn't blame her.
じゃあ行きましょうか。
Alright. Let's head over.
あ、はい、すみません。
Right. Sorry about this. I knew I hadn't been singing things, and yet I couldn't help but apologize anyway. You know, Japanese customs. And somehow it just didn't feel real. I followed Yamato-san back up to the staircase from where I had come. At the landing, we promptly arrived at my apartment. There, I briefly stepped aside to drop off the extra carton of detergent. After all, I wouldn't be needing it if no one actually lived next door. Boom, boom, boom. With that off my hands, I stepped back out into the hall, and together we walked a handful more steps to apartment 202. To my relief, the door was firmly closed.
じゃあ開けますよ。
Alright, I'll open the door now. She turned the key in the lock, and moments later, the door swung open with a loud, deep creak.
さあ中を見て。
Go on, take a look.
はい。
She's like, okay. Huh? I peered past her in the apartment and froze. It was empty. The wallpaper was brand new and the floor was coated in a thin layer of dust. It was blatantly clear that no one had set foot there in quite some time, much less lived there. I couldn't believe it. It made no sense.
中を見てもいいですか？
Would it be alright for me if I look around inside?
中には入らないでくださいね。ここは貸してる部屋じゃないので。
I prefer if you didn't. Sorry. This apartment isn't fit to be shown.
どうして？
What? How so?
それはいろいろと身内の事情がありましてね。さあもう分かったでしょ。閉めますよ。
Well, there are reasons, personal, family reasons, but now you've seen it yourself, yes? I'll close up.
あ、
Oh. Before I could begin to process what I've seen, Inamoto-san closed the door and locked it up tight. Apartment 202 was now completely and undeniably empty.
でも確かに。
But I don't know what I saw. Shut up! I just want her to, sometimes you gotta zip it and mind your, I mumbled pathetically to myself as Inamoto-san slipped past
引っ
me.
越しでお疲れなんでしょ。よくあることですよ。きっと。
You must be tired from the big move. I'm sure this kind of thing happens to everyone. I sincerely hope not, I wanted to say. But Yamato-san had already vanished around the corner and down the stairs because she dipped. She dipped. She's like, I'm not having this. The diner was 5 minutes drive away. I should have been excited to explore my new neighborhood, but instead I was utterly miserable. Pushing my cold, half-eaten hamburger steak around my plate, I contemplated everything that had happened this evening. I don't know why I just went off to a singing part, but I just couldn't pronounce the word right. For the brief moments, I don't know. I didn't write this. That's fine. I don't know. I feel like she should just mind her business. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad way, mind your business, but when you see some real weird, fucked up shit, like, that should be your red flag right there. A hand reaching out from the gap in the open door. The details stuck with me the most was how deathly pale it looked. As what were they reaching for exactly? It looked like it was just a crack. And even supposedly the hand had merely been a hallucination on my part, how would I explain the doorknob? Surely I couldn't have hallucinating the doorknob jiggling around like that. And yet the apartment beyond the door was completely deserted. If someone had to come to the door earlier, then there should have been footprints in the dust to prove it, but there weren't. I glanced out the door to find the sunset fading into dusk, and suddenly remembered that my windows at home still didn't have any curtains. Just a few hours prior, I told myself it could wait till tomorrow, but after today's little scare, I was cursing myself for not thinking ahead.
まだホームセンターは空いてるかしら。
I wonder if the hardware store is still open. I checked the time displayed on my phone, 6:16 p.m. I best get a move on if I want to find some place that will sell me curtains. Sure, maybe I was just paranoid, but as it turned out, sometimes a single strip of fabric could mean a world difference. It could be human nature to conceal the darkness, because the darkness plays host to all of our most primal fears. I picked up my bill from where it lay at the edge of the table and set my fork down on my unfinished plate. Loath as I was to waste food, today would simply have to be an exception. As I went to grab my phone off the table, however, it began to buzz quietly. LED light blinking. The name Yuki Shoko was displayed on screen. I quickly answered.
もしもし。
Hello.
あ、お姉ちゃん。もう引っ越し終わった？
Hey sis, are you moved? Are you all moved in and stuff? I can hear my little sister usual easygoing
今日
tone.
はごめんね。手伝いたかったんだけど仕事が終わんなくて。
Sorry, I couldn't lend a hand. I really wanted to, but work was crazy.
別にいいよ。荷物なんて大してないし。わざわざここまで来るのも大変だし。
It's fine. There wasn't much to move anyway. Besides, I feel really bad making you come out all this way.
ごめんね。今度引っ越し祝い持って遊びに行くから。
Oof, I'm sorry. I'll bring you a housewarming gift sometime, and you can show me your new place.
気を使わなくていいったら。せいぜいゴディバのチョコでいいわよ。
Chocolate. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. Silly. Just bring some Godiva chocolates or something.
はいはい。今度貢がせてもらいます。
Okay, fine.
ところ
I'll
でお姉ちゃん。
grant unto you my fine offering soon. Missy, by the way. Shoko started to lower her voice, and I could practically hear her smirking on the other end of the
な
phone.
んか面白そうなところに引っ越したみたいね。
You surely have an interesting taste in apartments, don't you?
何？どういうこと？
What are you implying? My heart skipped a beat. Ever since we were young, Shoko always had a strong sense of intuition, and somehow I had a bad feeling about
別
this.
になんとなくそんな気がしただけ。じゃあお姉ちゃん、まだ仕事終わってないから。
Oh,
まだ
nothing
に
really. Just a thought I had. Anyway, I gotta get back to work. Talk soon.
あ、ちょっと。
Huh? Wait. But she hung up before I could stop her. Something about the amusement in her voice didn't sit right with me.
面白そうなところってどういう意味？
Interesting taste? What's that supposed to mean? I pondered for a moment but quickly realized I was getting nowhere fast. Stuffing my phone in my pocket, I probably took my bill up to the register. As it turned out, the hardware store was actually just a short walk away from the dinner. Didn't have to waste the food. Plus, as an added bonus, I discovered that the grocery store was next door, stayed open pretty late most days. I could always hunt around for a cheaper store later on, but for now, all my shopping needs were met. I picked out a nice set of curtains at the hardware store, plus a few odds and ends, and by the time I made it home, it was pitch dark outside. That said, living out here away from the big city, the moon and stars were actually quite visible. Not to mention the parking lot security lights were pretty bright too. Before I knew it, I was standing back in front of the door to 201, both hands weighed down with shopping bags. Taking care not to glance over at apartment 202, I slid my key into the deadbolt. but it wouldn't turn. What the? For a moment, I thought I might have used my old key by mistake, but I hadn't brought it with me, and my car keys were too distinct for anyone to mix up. I reinserted the key and tried again. No dice. I didn't accidentally walk up an extra flight of stairs or something, did I? Surely I wasn't that out of it. Just in case, I looked up to check the number on the door and then it froze. Dimly, my brain registered the light fluttering of my shopping bags as they hit the floor. How? Why? 202. I was standing in front of the apartment 202. Panicked, I grabbed my bags, yanked my key out of the lock, and looked back in the direction I had come. Sure enough, my apartment was one door down. I was sure I stopped at the first door after I turned the corner. Fear welling up in me, I hurried over to 201 and put my key in the lock, hand shaking. But this time, the cylinder turned without a hitch. Too terrified to look down the hall, I darted inside and locked the door behind me, and then I bolted the chain for good measures. And then you're gonna put those curtains up, aren't you? My new curtains were a light shade of beige, designed to help brighten the room up. Admittedly, I would have preferred blackout curtains, but at this point, I have settled for anything. These beige curtains had 2 layers beneath the thin colored fabric was set a lace panel. Why do we have to describe? Why would we describe the curtain? Like, in the story, if we're making a story for Neighbor, why do we need to describe this curtain? What significance this curtain has for the story? That's what I want to know. As I set about hanging them over the living room window, I thought back on the day's events. I could see every shadowy balcony outside beyond the glass, separated from the one next door via a privacy screen that someone could easily break through in the event of an emergency. I kept my gaze averted, however. In the back of my mind, I kept worrying some formless entity was going to come creeping out of apartment 202 onto my balcony. Is that foreshadowing? I felt a bit better once I had finished hanging the living room curtains, but the hardest part was yet to come. The living room and bedroom were divided by a single sliding partition, and my bedroom shared a wall with 202. Somehow it felt different in there. It's all in my head. It's all in my head. It had to be. After all, nothing had felt off when I went in there this morning. If only I hadn't seen that. The pale hand flashed through my mind again. Hastily, I shook the thought away. Forget it. Forget about it. What's it gonna do now? Is it paying your rent? I knew I'd never be able to stay here if I kept dwelling on it. I shot a quick glance at the balcony. A single pane of glass was all that separated me from the unsettling darkness. Why was I letting myself get so worked up over some curtains? Silently reassuring myself, I set about hanging up the lace. My arms were starting to get tired from continuously reaching up, but there was no time to complain. I need to get this over with ASAP. Next, I grabbed the beige fabric and looked back at the curtain rod. The mindless busy work was beginning to help me forget my anxiety. Once I finished hanging up the first half, I took the second half off the bag. Almost done. Unfolding the curtain, I grabbed one hug and I reached up. And then, bam! Ooh, bam. For a second, I didn't know the sound was coming from until it happened a second time and my whole apartment shook. I jumped away from the window. leaving the hanging limply by one hook.
今の
What was that? Oh my god, Daddy! The window pane was visibly shaken from external impact. Beyond the delicate lace, the balcony still seemed as empty as ever. Fearfully, I peered through the curtains. Sure enough, no one was there. At this, I felt both relieved and unnerved. Who hit my window then? I need to know, but I didn't want to find out. Wrestling with my mind with my conflicted emotions, I left my gaze over the dark void of the balcony just to see if I could see who was hitting my balcony. And there, I found my answer. Ew, hit it. Get that grimy hand out there. They were wrong for that. I wanted to scream, but it felt like there was a cork in my throat, keeping my voice sealed away. Because you're the throat guy, babe. You are bona fide throat goat. There it was. Oh, the railing between my balcony and the next. What was that? A bony hand clung to the privacy screen, so pale it practically glowed in the dark. Let me just get my hand into the glow in the dark, and then I'm gonna put my hand outside of the curtain area, and I'm gonna see if we are able to replicate this. It slid along the edge of the partisan until it vanished from sight, a little more than a few seconds. And yet those seconds felt like hours, right up to the moment I screamed. I woke on the living room floor to the sound of the doorbell ringing.
Yuki-san, いる? 大丈夫?
Oh, it's your white knight. Yuki, you there? Are you okay? I really don't want to say Yuki-san. I really want to be like, yo, Yuki. Like, I feel American, okay? If I was in Japan, yeah, I'll say Yuki-san. Now, Yuki-san, you there? The vaguely familiar voice made me shudder. Nevertheless, I staggered to my feet like a puppet whose string has been cut. I had no proof, but I was convinced. The hand belonged to a woman. Hence, the man outside wasn't dangerous. It was just a gut feeling. Too tired to deal with the intercom, I stumbled my way to the front door. Collapsing against it, I looked through the peephole to find my upstairs neighbor, Hisamatsu. Hisamatsu-san, looking tense. As I opened the door, the cool night breeze drifted in through the 1-inch gap permitted by the chain.
ベランダにいたらすごい悲鳴が聞こえたから。
It's like I was out on my balcony when I heard you screaming bloody murder down there. Down here. I had no clue what to tell him. This confusion must have registered on my face because he got a bit flustered.
こんばんは。301の久松ですけど。
He's like, oh, sorry, hi, it's me. He's not a son for 301, you know. I'm a cool guy.
大丈夫です。
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. I remember you. Finally, my voice decided to cooperate, and Hisamatsu-san was complete. Hisamatsu. Was clearly relieved to hear it. Perhaps he mistaken my hesitation for mistrust.
それで、大丈夫ですか?
So you okay, or?
悲鳴聞こえました。
I must have screamed pretty loud, huh? I'm one of those vocal cord girlies. Personally, I had next to no memory of doing so. All I remember is being rooted to the spot, my eyes glued to the balcony until the hand vanished from sight. Himatsu-san. Himatsu has smiled sheeply and nodded to my question.
まあこれ僕が驚いて飛んできちゃうくらいには。
Totally. I mean, yeah, just a little. Sounded kind of like serious, so I came running.
別に俺でも構わないですけど。
You can speak freely around me. I don't mind. I wasn't sure why he kept correcting himself over such an offensive slang.
じゃあ俺で。
Oh, okay then.
どうしてわざわざ言い直してるんですか？
Why do you keep correcting yourself then?
いや昔教授に気をつけろって言われまして TPO をわきまえろってね。
Well, I had a professor get on my case about it for a while back. Told me it was extremely rude and unprofessional.
なるほどね。
Ah, I see. I guess. The more we talked, the more I could feel myself calming down. And that ghostly hand started to feel more and more like just a bad dream.
でどうしたんですか？
So, what happened?
いえ、ゴキブリをちょっと。
Oh, nothing. Just a cockroach, you
ゴ
know.
キブリ？
A cockroach? Even I didn't know where that light came from. I couldn't stop thinking back to the perfectly empty apartment I've seen a few hours ago. My fear felt so fake in comparison.
ゴキブリね。ここにもいたんだ。
I didn't know we had him here.
見たことない。
Are you from Osaka, dude? Okay, because, like, depending, like, I can't really tell. I can't tell. But I know when they start speaking slang, they're usually from the suburb. Well, we are in the suburbs, so that makes sense. Wait, we are in the suburbs. What the fuck am I talking about? He is speaking slang. You haven't seen him around here?
ここではないですね。前にいたオンボロアパートでは見ましたけど。
Not here, no.
なんだゴキブリか。
My last apartment had him, though. That place was a dump. Ah, well, just a cockroach, huh? From the way he spoke, it sounded like he had been expecting something else. I couldn't stop myself from
ゴキ
asking.
ブリじゃなきゃ何だと思ったんですか？
Of course it was. What were you expecting?
幽霊かな。
I don't know. A ghost, maybe? Fuck him. Look, now you got my girl all worked up. Instantly, a chill shot down my spine. Did he know something? But just as a suspicion crossed my mind, Himatsu-san grinned.
なんて。
Just kidding. What?
泥棒とか痴漢だったら大変だと思ったんですよ。最近田舎も何かと物騒だから。
Hell yeah. I was worried if it was a burglar or some kind of sex pervert. The countryside not as safe as it used to be, you know.
まあ、そうですね。
Oh, right. Yes, that's true.
とにかく何もなかったようでよかったですよ。俺も安心して論文を書けるってもんです。
Anyway, glad I wasn't serious. Now I can go back to write my thesis.
そうか。
Right,
邪魔しちゃったのね。
right.
ごめんなさい。
Sorry for bothering you.
いいえ。じゃあおやすみなさい。
No worries. Have a good one.
お騒がせしてごめんなさい。じゃあ。
Thank you, and sorry for the trouble. I made to close the door, but it stopped a few centimeters from the threshold. I looked down to find Hisamatsu-san hand on the doorknob.
何か。
Do you need something, sir? Get your pee-pee paws off the door.
忘れてました。これ。
Forgot to give you this. Huh? He extended a slip of paper through the chain's gap.
俺の携帯の番号です。何かあったらかけてください。危ないことでも危なくないことでも飛んできます。
It's my cell phone number. Call me on my cell phone. Feel free to call me, you know, in case of emergency or not emergencies, whatever. I'll run down anytime.
ありがとうございます。
Oh, thank you.
じゃあ今度こそおやすみなさい。
No problem. Bye for realsies times. This time I shut the door without interruption. All at once, the energy drained from my limbs, and then I sank to the floor. Sank. From there, I crawled on my hands and knees to check the bedroom. The balcony was perfectly quiet and perfectly empty, just as though nothing had ever happened. Half of my curtain still hung limply by my potato. Half of my curtain still hung limply by a single hook. What's up?
What'd you play?
I found a visual novel to play. Balance.
Girl, did you hurry up and download it?
Yeah, I did.
I found it.
Well, okay, so here's what happened. Because I'm going to probably just stop it here. I was trying to play That's Not My Neighbor. But the problem is, when I try recording it, it's not picking it up. So I have to look up on how
Girl, did you buy it?
No, I didn't buy it.
Did you find a website?
I found a website.
Ooh, naughty.
Shush.
Naughty.
Shush.
See, this is what happens when you don't buy it.
Well, I was going to buy it. I'll go buy it. And I'll play it. It's only like $2.99.
Yeah.
What, you bought it?
Yeah. You gotta support the creator, man.
I know.
I got pissed.
So, that's probably going to be like a next week problem. So, I had another game here, and I'm like, it's more talking. And I thought it was going to be English audio. I don't really have to do much for this, which I'm like, oh shit. That's kind of weird. Not kind of weird. I feel like it's weird. But also, it's like only 2.5 hours, and I'm like, still like, whatever, hour, ever. So, I'm going ahead and continue this. So I hurried over and secured the rest of the hooks to the curtain rod. After that, I spent the rest of the night in the living room. I barely slept a wink that night in the end. Rays of morning sunlight streamed in through the living room curtains as I rocked. The sofa was no mean uncomfortable, and yet my body was sore all over. If I had this would happen. Like, how would you know? I would have done some work ahead of time. That said, I was absolutely no mood to sit down and work. Everywhere I looked, the room was stacked high with cardboard boxes, some half empty, others broken down into neat folded piles. My desktop computer, an essential tool for any freelancer, was waiting for me on my desk. Unfortunately, my internet service wouldn't be ready until tomorrow, at least as far as I know. Any chance it's not too late to change my mind about this place? I got to my feet, walked over to the cabinet, and opened the drawer. There, I retrieved the rental agreement sitting on top of the stack of papers, then walked to the window. Truth be told, I was afraid to open those stupid curtains. But there was no sense standing there in the dark either. Stealing my nerves, I threw open the curtains. My balcony sat empty under the bright morning sun. Beyond it lay an equally empty lot. Nothing suspicious in sight. Music on point. Ooh. Relieved, I opened the window. A dewy breeze blew in, and I returned to the couch, paperwork in hand. There I flipped through the contract until I came across the section regarding move-outs. But what I found out was so baffling and exorbitant I couldn't help but stare. Should tenant move out before a period of 1 year has elapsed. Tenant agrees to pay a penalty sum equal to 6 months' rent.
半年
She didn't read this? I know it was common for rental agreements to charge an early move-out fee during the first year. After all, no landlord will want to deal with the rotating doors of tenants. I've moved a fair few times in my life, and most of the apartments I live here have one single clause in their leases, but for 2 months rent max. I found out the game's only 2.5 hours long.
Only 2.5 hours long.
Yes.
And how far into now?
I'm thinking about an hour in.
An hour in.
Nice.
I'm hungry and I don't want to go. And I might cave and call my father. Who knows?
Hey, can you give me some of those little bars?
I'm gonna play this right
No! No. Less than that in most cases. In all my life, I never heard of anyone charging 6 months rent as a move-out fee. That's why you gotta read contracts. They might as well have simply typed up, "You're stuck here," in size 72 font.
どうしてこんな
This is ridiculous. Well, that's how she gets her money. I was more than willing to pay another month's rent if it meant if I could leave. Hell, I could be convinced to pay 2. After all, it was a paltry sum compared to enduring the terror of that awful dream, or hallucinations, or whatever it was. So common sense is common sensing right now. If I have to pay a 6-month penalty, I will stay there. I'm sad. I'm gonna get some white noise, black noise. I will get some sleepy time tea. I will get whatever it's needed for me to go ahead and survive this year, because it's gonna be a lot. No harm, no foul, right? But 6 months rent, that was pushing it to say the least. Bro. Come on. No. No. I'm gonna. No. Thank you.
That thing is out there.
I tossed the rental agreement back into the cabinet drawer. Then I stepped out to the balcony. Beneath me lay the sprawling landscape of the suburbs, peacefully and picturesque. If there was a normal apartment, I'm sure the view would have left me feeling arrogant. Emboldened by the seemingly ordinary balcony, I glanced over at the one directed adjacent to mine. Granted, the privacy screen prevented me from seeing such. Feeling a bit braver in the safety of daylight, I peeked my head over the partition wall. 202 balcony was completely empty. The sunlight streamed in through the sliding glass window, affording me a small glimpse into the apartment itself. It looked to be perfectly quiet, perfectly ordinary, and yet I sensed an indescribable darkness inside. She sounds so freaking gothic, it's hilarious. Like, whoever wrote this is like, we're going to describe every detail so that you can visually see where the main character is at. And sometimes you gotta be like, what the fuck? The apartment felt cold, somehow. Perhaps it was just the stark emptiness. Maybe it would have felt differently with some furniture in there. Just as I lowered my back onto my own balcony, I was caught off guard by a sudden voice calling out to me.
Ohayo.
Diego, bro, Morning.
おはよう。って、
At first, I couldn't tell where it was coming from. I shot a quick glance around, but didn't see anyone.
上ですよ、上。
Up here. Up where? Oh, right. I looked up and immediately it was all made sense. There was Hisamatsu peered down at me from his balcony. I seem to recall he paid me a visit just last night.
おはようございます。
Good morning.
朝から隣を覗きですか？
Isn't it a little early to be spying on your neighbors?
いや、そういうわけじゃ。
What? No, it's not what it looks like. It was exactly what it looks like. Busted.
隣なら誰もいませんよ。
No one lives there, you know.
知ってます。昨日大家さんに聞きましたから。
Yes, I know. The landlady told me yesterday. She even showed me. But I decided to keep that bit to myself. Just then an idea came to me. Maybe Hisamatsu was just the sort of person I needed.
久松さん。
Can I ask you something, Hisamatsu-san?
はい。
Sure.
お隣ってどんな人がいたか知ってますか？
Do you know anything about who used to live there?
さあ、俺が越してきた時はもう誰も住んでませんでしたから。
I'm afraid not. 202's been empty ever since I first moved in.
そうですか。
I see.
今ここの住人で202号室のことを知ってる人はいないと思いますよ。
I imagine that's the case for everyone else who lived in this complex too.
じゃあ誰なら。
And then who should I talk to?
不動産会社かな。
The real estate agent, maybe? Of course. Why hadn't I thought of that?
ま、簡単には話してくれないとは思いますけどね。
Though I doubt they'd be eager to talk to about it. About him.
それってどういう意味ですか？
What do you mean?
さ、俺も論文の仕上げやんなきゃ。じゃあそんなわけで。
Well, I gotta get back to my thesis. Enjoy your day. No sense trying to stop him. I suddenly had somewhere important to be. Hisamatsu-san vanished back inside his apartment. And I heard the sliding door shut. But more importantly, I had just obtained a valuable lead. I left the chilly balcony and headed to the bathroom to get cleaned up. That's crazy. I'm sorry, but we're unable to disclose any personal information about our clients to a third party. This was the first thing my agent said to me when I arrived at the real estate agency that helped me sign my contract lease. Chloe Wanderfell Realty. I had chosen this agency simply because it was the first one that caught my eye, but the name was so fanciful I often had trouble remembering it. But that was hardly important now.
そこをなんとかどうしても知りたいことがあって。
Well, can you make an exception? I really need to know.
だからダメなんですって。最近はいろいろとうるさいんですよ。
As I said, we cannot. They're really strict about the sort of things these days.
住人のことを漏らしたばかりに厄介ごとに巻き込まれることも少なくないんですから。
You know, trouble's always right around the corner if a client's information gets leaked. He looked to be on the younger side, maybe a bit younger than me, and I could tell he was getting sick of me already. But I held my ground.
あのね、誰も住んでないはずの隣の部屋から怪しい音が聞こえたら誰だって怖いでしょ？
Listen, okay? Anyone in my shoes will be scared out of their minds, hearing those creepy noise from what's supposed to be an empty apartment.
その正体を知りたいからいろいろ聞いてるんじゃない。
I'm only asking because I'm trying to figure out where it's coming
じゃ
from.
あ大家さんにお聞きになったらどうです？目の前に住んでるじゃないですか。
Why don't you try asking the landlady? She lives right there on the same property, doesn't she?
その大家さんが教えてくれないからお宅に聞いてるんでしょ。
I already tried that, and she won't tell me. Why don't you think I'm asking you? Why? Oh my god. Why do you think I'm here asking you?
大家さんが教えられないなら
Potatoes. Man, probably gonna look for some more weird stuff. Like, not pay as much, but like just find some weird stuff. So when you're watching this on a weird part of a YouTube channel, very obscure, very cult classic. If she won't tell you, then obviously we're not at liberty to either. Judging from his tone, he was used to dealing with this sort of thing. I fixed him with a sharp glare, but just then another client walked in. Family in tow.
いらっしゃいませ。
Welcome. Her voice casually breaks the tension hanging in the air.
まあそういうわけなんで今日のところはお引き取りを。
I'm sorry I can't help you. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave.
冗談じゃない。
You think this is a joke? I didn't come here and be messed around with. After everything I've been through, in my brand new apartment no less, I wasn't going anywhere.
お宅が紹介した物件で夜も眠れないほど怖い目に遭ってるんですよ。
Thanks to your agency, I live in a place where I'm too scared to sleep at night.
この落とし前は一体どうつけてくれるの？
Don't you think you ought to do something about that?
あいやその
Well, I never underestimate the backbone of a woman who works freelance. I knew exactly how to handle this. My voice echoed through the office and my agent pleaded. I shot a quick glance around, and sure enough, the family that had just walked in was now looking nervously in our direction. And I knew the agent had noticed this too.
その件に関しましては誠心誠意を持って対応させていただきます。こちらでお話を。
And now I'm too tired and depressed to
Oh, what you gonna do?
die.
Make peanut butter jelly sandwich?
No, that
Oh.
bread tastes weird.
Oh.
Must have been a bad batch.
Mm.
Anyways, I'm gonna sit down and die. And maybe, if I feel desperate enough, get udon or oatmeal.
Okay.
Do you know where your food samples?
No.
Sure you found it just a little bit?
That's why I was trying to give it to you.
I would have lost it.
See, from one placement to another.
Well, either it be lost or on my what's it called?
Nice.
The thingy next to the bed.
The nightstand?
Yes.
Okay.
I filled a lot of stuff in my nightstand.
I'm like, I had it on the couch with me. But, like, when I got up, I'm like, I need to put this card away so it doesn't get lost.
You lost it.
And I lost it.
That's a big flame yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you sound proud of that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big flame.
Yeah.
That's it.
What's wrong with it?
I'm gonna call my father.
Why? What's wrong with my big flame?
You act like Dad's a firefighter. It's very tall
Mm-hmm.
and very explodable.
Yeah.
All I need is that can of Raid that's just flying in the back.
Why don't you go call your dad and get some food? Maybe that's what you need in your life right now. Some food.
Do I need food? I have ascended. Who needs food?
You haven't ascended, you descended.
What you mean? I ascended.
Girl, you said you dying over there.
Am I?
And I continue. Of course, our agency will do everything in its power to resolve the situation right this way, please.
You are now one of my elite employees.
Looking utterly defeated, the agent led me into a cubicle in the back corner of the office. Clearly, he knew
Agent?
he was at the end of his rope.
You said agent, right?
Yeah.
I thought you said Asian. For a second.
Okay,
What?
the area was furnished with 2 couches facing each other. Perhaps this was where they held business negotiations. And then not really showing us the office. But okay. The agent gestured for me to sit on one side. Then
Asian?
Agent! The agent gestured for me to sit on one side. Then spoke in a low voice.
少し待っててく
Don't
ださ
let
い
it blend together when you're on screen.
Ooh.
You need to get that transatlantic accent. Pull it out.
I might as well. I can't even do it. I'll be right back. No, I can't even do it. I can't do
I'll be
it.
right back.
I'll be right back.
See, this wouldn't be happening if you just watch Legend of Korra.
As he disappeared beyond the partition, the receptionist brought me a cup of tea. That's delicious. By the time I taken my first sip, the agent reappeared with a file folder in hand.
僕が教えたってことはくれぐれも内密にお願いしますね
And take this important call.
Look, please don't tell anyone I showed you this, okay? The agent flipped through the folder, looking far more rattled than before. I glanced at the name tag affixated to his chest. Sorry about this, Haruka-kun. Hirai-kun? I swear I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I don't really have any other choice.
それで202号室には一体どんな人が住んでて何があっ
So,
たの
what happened with whoever used to live in an apartment 202?
それは実は僕にもわからないんです
About that, truth be told, even I don't know the details.
ちょっとそれじゃ話が
What? Then what's the point
ま
of...
あ聞いてくださいうちの会社があのアパートの仲介をやるようになったのは4年前からなんです
Just hear me out, okay? Our agency first started leasing for your complex 4 years
そ
ago.
の時にはすでに202号室の賃貸募集は行われていませんでした
At the time, 202 was already off the
な
market.
るほどじゃああなたが教えてくれる事情って
I see, so what can you tell me? Nervously, Hirai-kun continued to leaf through the folder until he found what he was looking for. There, he pulled something free from the paperclip and slid it across the table.
名刺
What's this? A business card?
うちの会社より前にあのアパートを取り扱っていた会社です
This is the company?
会社自体はもうないんですけど
Oh. This is the company that handled the complex before us. Not that they're around anymore.
どういうこと
What happened?
そこの社長が首を吊ったんですもともと家族経営の不動産屋でしたから社員は社長一人でしたし
The CEO hung himself. It was a family business, you see, and he was running the whole show himself.
でも家はそのまま会社があった場所の隣にありますからうまくいけば奥さんには話が聞けるかもしれませんよ
But his house is right next door to where the company used to be, so you might be able to ask his wife about it.
その社長が首を吊ったのはいつ
Oh, okay, have fun.
Have fun. Why is that? Why are you saying like that? You sound so insincere, like you want to punch me. You sound really violent.
Bro, have fun.
That was a. Now that sounded less violent. Thank you. I felt some hostility. In the first
Hostility?
place. Yes, in the,
In the
first way you were
workplace?
fine. Yes, there's a hostility in the workplace. I can't do it.
That makes sense. So how long did he pass away?
4年前かなうちの社長とは仲が良かったみたいでそこで扱ってた物件のほとんどうちが引き取る形になりました
It must have been 4 years ago. Yeah. He was good friends with our CEO. which is how most of his listings end up with us after the fact.
僕が教えられるのはこれくらいです。
That's all I can tell you.
ありがとう。
Thank you so much. The fact that Complex previous real estate agency CEO had committed suicide felt like a huge revelation. Maybe it was worth my time to poke it a little further. Meanwhile, Hirokun let a sigh of relief, but unfortunately he wasn't rid of me quite
もう
yet.
一ついいかしら。
Can I ask just one more thing?
なんでしょう。
What is it?
私が今住んでいる部屋、シャトレ・ロマーヌの201号室には以前誰が住んでいたの？
Regarding my apartment, who was the previous tenant at Châtelet? Châtelet? Remain 201.
201ですか。あそこは結城さんが入るまで近所にある地方銀行の借り上げだったんです。去年までは女性が住んでいたはずですよ。
201, you say? Well, before you moved in, it was leased out to a local bank chain. A young woman lived there until last year or
どん
so.
な人？
What was she like?
若い女性でしたね。
Mm.
確か久松さんって言ったかな。
I don't know, fairly young. I think her name was Hisamatsu. Oh, it's all connected.
久松。
My upstairs neighbors share that same surname. Something about that gave me a pause.
ねえ平井さん、
Say Hirai-san.
はい。で、あれ？どうして僕の名前？
Yes, wait, how do you know my
ネ
name?
ームプレートつけてるじゃない。もしかして201号室って頻繁に人が入れ替わったりしなかった？
Okay, think about this. Either you're really smart, you either choose to be really smart or really beautiful. And I'm like, I don't want to choose that. We get both. It's right there in your name tag, silly. Listen, has 201 been through a lot of tenants lately? Hirokun frowned at my question. Clearly he has been hoping I would ask.
そうですね。201と203。特に201は僕が受け持った最初は入居してもすぐに出ていく人が多かったです。
Damn, that means she's getting money. The leasing agent, not the agent, the landlord, she's getting money. Because they're getting 6 months, that's like 6,000. And they're just going through it. 4, she getting extra, yeah, no wonder she's leaning back. She getting money from people. She's making money off the ghost. Well, yeah, both 201 and 203, but 201 especially so. Ever since I got signed to it, I've seen quite a few people come and go almost immediately. Okay. So she's paying 80,000 yen. What's 80,000 yen? Okay. Huh? Yeah. No. No worries. So, we're gonna cut her pocket change real quick. Side note, I know it's horror, but my brain needs to know how much money this lady has been making because she used to be something else, but then she started doing a whole apartment thing, right? So if we translate the 80,000 yenis, I'm not a math person. My math can be off. You can correct me. So at this moment in time of 2024, it's April. We got $521.94. That's how much she's paying a month for her area. So to me, I'm like, that's not bad. But she's saying expensive, which I get, understandable, but it's not bad. you know, hauntedness is going to come with the territory of that, right? And this lady, but she also saying it's like it's quite expensive, right? So if we go ahead and look at that penalty fee that she's having, and she has to pay 6 months. This lady, if they leave out early, gets about $30,000. Okay, it's a little bit over $3,000. Okay, like I said, not a math person. Really, not a math person. So if she's going through several tenants, like how many tenants she goes, because all she needs to do is go through 10 to hit 30,000. No, to hit $30,000. 30,000. Yeah, $30,000 from 10 people. She's rolling in bank. This is a terrible thing to do, honestly, but she literally has this ghost kind of in a chokehold. 30,000, like over 30. I know it's gonna be more than 30,000, but like she can make that disgusting amount in like 1 year. Not 1 year. Let's calm down. And she can possibly make that in like 1 month. Take the tool. Okay. Well, you just gotta walk there. So this lady can make possibly $30,000 in 1 month. And she went through 10 people. Like maybe there's some, but she can make money. We'll say like 10. Okay, 10. Maybe 5 person in 1 month, maybe 5 in another. I don't know how she's gonna spread it out, but that can get her over to $100,000, maybe more. And here we go to calculate someone else's pocket. My bad. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, sorry, player. Didn't mean to catch your hustle. Ain't no shame. Do your thing. Like, only gotta say this: as long as it doesn't get anyone killed, I'm fine with that.
久松さんも会社の借り上げだから仕方なく住んでいる感じでしたよ。だから大家さんが違約金の条件を厳しくしたんですよね。
Oh, holy shit. In Hisamatsu-san's case, she was only living there because her company had leased it out. That's why the landlady had to raise the early move-out penalty fee.
ねえ、そういうことって普通入居時に言わない？
Isn't that the sort of thing you're supposed to tell a new tenant up front?
一定期間住んだ方に何もなければ言う義務がないんです。そもそもあの部屋自体は何かあったわけじゃないですから。
There's no legal obligation to tell a short-term tenant unless the situation requires it. After all, there hasn't been any incidents in that one. He had a point. Regardless, I got the sense I learned all I could from this lead. I downed the rest of my cold tea, then stood up from the couch. Instantly, I could see relief flood over Hirakun's face.
教えてくれてありがとうね、平井さん。
Thank you for all your help, Hira-san. Hira.
いえいえ。でもくれぐれも僕が言ったとは。
You're welcome, but please don't tell anyone I...
内緒にしとくわ。ああ、でもまた聞きたいことがあったら来るかも。
Don't worry, I won't. Oh, I might be back if I think of any more questions. Give me a break. I like how, like, like, just, it's the expression right there means give me a break. Think about it. Like that. Oh, that's funny. I could see please spare me written all over his face, but I ignored it and walked out of the cubicle. The family from early was still in the office, and they looked at me with concern as I approached. I put on my best smile and turned to look at Hirakun behind me.
本当、誠実な対応をありがとうございました。 これで安心して住めます。
Thank you so much. The customer service here is absolutely incredible. Now I can sleep soundly.
本当に申し訳ありませんでした。
My deepest apologies for the trouble.
じゃあまた何かあったらよろしくお願いしますね。
I'll be in touch next time I need anything.
はい。今後ともよろしくお願いします。
Of course, we look forward to assisting you. The family looked relieved to see that the hardworking agent has successfully resolved the complaint. With that little matter taken care of, I headed for the door.
ありがとうございました。またのご来店をお待ちしてます。
Thank you again. Come back anytime. Hirakan called after me, his voice stiff and robotic. I arrived at that real estate agency, Kuyama Realty, a little before noon. I wasn't entirely sure what I was doing or what I planned to ask, but at this point, anything was preferable to just cowering in fear. The building was plain and box shape. One look and it was obviously the place was closed down. The windows were dusty, obscuring the interior from view. Not that I really want to be peering around inside a dark office in the first place. The company was located right there on the CEO's personal property. A high fence extended from the office building and looped around the house next to it. As I walked along the fence, I soon arrived at a massive gate, beyond which I could see a large, old-fashioned house. The gate itself was locked up tight, but there was an intercom system affixed to the fence. I rang the doorbell without hesitation. Inside, I could faintly hear the chime echoing through the door. All at once, memories from yesterday flashed through my mind, sending goosebumps prickling up my arm. The situation was uncannily similar to my experience with apartment 202. Maybe she wasn't home at the moment. I rang the doorbell a second time. No answer.
高山さんなら入院してらっしゃいますよ。
If you're looking for Kuyo-sama, she's in the hospital? The sudden voice behind me made me jump. I whirled around to find an unfamiliar woman standing there. Her arms were laden with shopping bags, suggesting she was on her way home from a trip to the grocery store. Her apron was embroidered with the same name. With the name Alyssa. Oh, why would you have Alyssa? Oh, maybe from like a reference from another game or something. Perhaps that was her name.
高山さんのお宅に用事なんでしょ？奥さんね、今橋田総合病院に入院していらっしゃるのよ。
You're here to visit Koyama. Yes? Well, I'm afraid she's laid up at Hashida General's Hospital.
どこかお加減が悪いんですか？
Is she sick?
さあ、救急車で運ばれてそれっきり見てないからよくわからないけど。
Can't say. Haven't seen her since the ambulance came and took her
ご
away.
主人が亡くなってから弱る一方だったっていうしね。
They said she's been getting worse and worse since her husband passed away. There's a term for folks like this, gossipy old neighbor ladies. Perhaps coming here was worth my time after
主
all.
人ってどうして亡くなったんですか？
How did her husband die?
あら、
Or pass?
ご存じないの？
首吊りよ、首吊り。
Oh, you haven't heard? The man hanged himself. Sure enough, it seemed like Alyssa O was more than willing to talk. So far, so good. At this rate, maybe I could get something useful out of her.
首吊りって不動産屋がうまくいってなかったんでしょうか？
He hanged himself? Was his business not doing so well?
まさか。あの人はこの辺の地主だもの。自分の持ち物件だけでも相
So
当
how
稼いで
did
いたは
this
ずよ。
happen? Don't be silly. He was practically the king of the district. Or this district. He could sell property on his name alone.
なのに自殺？
So, why commit suicide then?
ここだけの話だけどね。
Well, just between you and me.
はいはい。
Yeah? Yeah, you and me and everyone in a 10-mile radius, I thought. Naturally, I kept that little comment to myself.
何かに取りつかれてたって話なのよ。
They said he was possessed.
何かって何に？
But possessed by what?
幽霊に決まってるじゃないの。死ぬちょっと前にもね、お向かいの鈴木さんがここのご主人の悲鳴聞いたんですって。
A ghost, obviously. Just before he died, Suzuki-san across the street heard him screaming.
俺が悪かったとか、もう許してくれとか。
It's all my fault. Please forgive
恨
me.
みを買うような人だったんですかね。
I wonder if he got on someone's bad side then.
そりゃあ、これだけ儲けてる人だもの。恨みの10や20は買うんじゃない？
It's like, I mean, with all that money he made,
激しかったって話だし。
he was bound to land himself into trouble at some point. Plus, I heard he was quite the philanderer. Philandery. No kidding.
自分の持ちアパートに女の子囲ってたって噂もあるくらいだもの。そりゃあ取りつかれたって不思議じゃないと思うわ。
They said he had a mistress living in one of his apartment properties too. If you ask me, it was no wonder he had himself possessed. It all sounded like typical neighborhood gossip, but something about it stuck out to me. I was tempted to stick around, but I knew ladies of her caliber were likely to go on and on for hours if given the chance.
お見舞いに行きたいので、橋田総合病院の場所教えてもらってもいいですか？
Say, I'd like to check out in on Kaguya-san. Can you tell me the way to the hospital? All the hospitals are basically the same. People milling about and offending, many of them clearly unwell. I knew better to expect anything different. That was a hospital's whole purpose, after all. But I still didn't like it. After all, it felt so unsanitary. Arriving at the general reception area, I inquired after Miss Kayuma and was promptly asked to state my relation to
以前
her.
の棚子でお世話になって。
Her husband was my real estate agent. And it was a total half-assed lie, of course, but the receptionist directed me to the internal medicine ward nonetheless.
でも多分何も話せませんよ。
Fair warning. Don't expect her to talk to you.
意識不明の植物状態なんです。この1年くらい。
She's been in a vegetative state for the past year. Oh my god. And that meant my trip here was utterly wasted, including the banquet of bouquet of get well flowers I brought as a pretext.
一応行ってきます。せっかくお花も持ってきたことだし。お花だけ置いたら帰りますね。
Well, seeing as I brought her these flowers, I might as well check in on her anyway. I'll just put them on the table and be on my way.
お好きにどうぞ。
Suit yourself. Ignoring her unfriendly response, I headed off into the internal medicine ward. A drab, sterile smell lingered in the patient's room. Koya-sama was bone thin, with tubes hooked into every part of her, sleeping peacefully. I smelled oh snap, I didn't smell. I set the small vase of flowers down on the side table and gazed at her for a moment. This lead may have been a dead end, but hey, I tried. After that, I promptly turned and left the room. By the time I arrived back at the general reception area, I realized I needed to call one of my clients. More specifically, my sister. She worked for a small-time magazine publisher as it happened. I was in charge of running their website. But I wasn't going to have internet access until tomorrow, and I had forgotten to tell her I wouldn't have the latest site update ready until tomorrow night at the earliest. I checked the time, 2 p.m. I knew she might be in a meeting, but I decided I could just leave a voicemail if it came to that. Thankfully, after a few rings, she picks up.
な、もしもし、翔子？
Hey, Shoko.
お姉ちゃんごめん。急ぎのようじゃなかったら後でいいかな。
Sorry, sis. Unless this is emergency, can it wait?
更新再開は明日の夜からって伝えたいだけだから別にもういいけど会議中？
Just wanted to let you know the site update will go live tomorrow night. That's all. In a meeting?
うん。お葬式。
No, I'm at a funeral.
お葬式？
A funeral? I struggled to keep my voice down. It wasn't exactly the sort of thing one ought to be shouting in the middle of a hospital lobby, after all.
会社の人がそう亡くなっちゃって。
One of our coworkers, passed away. Her uncharacteristically hesitant tone set off red flags in
と
my
にかく
mind.
また後でかけるから更新の件は係長に言っとくね。
Anyway, I'll call you back later. I'll pass on the news about the site update.
はいはい、よろしく。
Thanks. Bye. After the call ended, I stared down at my phone for a moment. Something wasn't right. But right now, I had no way of figuring it out. I just have to ask Shoko for more details later. With that taken care of, the only option left, loath as I was to admit, was to go home and dive into work. But just as I was about to head out for the, oh my god, I can't speak. I can't even speak. But just as I was about to head for the front entrance, someone tapped me on the shoulder. Hmm?
あ、やっぱり結城さんだ。
Oh, hold on. Get a little baka baka baka. Aha, Yuki-san, I knew it was you. I turned to find my upstairs neighbor, Hisamatsu-san, standing there, grinning from ear to ear. We certainly seem to be crossing paths a lot these days.
風邪でもひきました？
You sick or something?
なあ、いえ、ちょっとお見舞いに。久松さんは？
No, just came to visit. What about you?
俺もお見舞いです。ここ大学院から近いんで。
Yeah, just passed through myself. It's a stone throw from my campus after all. His tone was light and casual. It sounded like he came here a lot. So who was he visiting? Admittedly, I was a tiny bit
どな
curious.
たが入院してるんですか？
Who are you here to see?
姉がね。
Oh, it's my older sister.
どこがって聞いてもいいのかしら？
Can I ask what's
いい
wrong?
ですよ。
Sure, I don't mind. He smiled like it was the most trifling thing in the world.
姉が病んでるのはここです。
My sister is sick here. He indicated his temple.
脳の疾患か何か？
What, like a tumor or?
ああ、いえ。正確にはここです。
No, no. I guess you could say the problem is more here. As he spoke, he prodded my chest, just above my heart. Startled, I covered myself protectively, and he snickered.
ああ、ごめんなさい。別にセクハラのつもりはないんですけど。
I'm sorry, I swear I wasn't trying anything funny.
ここって心？
What do you mean? The problems with her heart.
ええ。精神を病んでもう1年くらい入院してますよ。
It's her soul, really. Her spirit is broken, and her mind is destroyed. She's been hospitalized for nearly a year.
どうしてまた？
Same thing as the, what else we'll call it? The wife. Oh man, that's awful. How'd it happen? You know, maybe it wasn't right of me to cry. Like, you fucking think. But suddenly, but somehow, it felt like Himatsu-san was inviting me to ask.
今日不動産屋さんには行きました？
Did you visit your real estate agency today? What? The change of The change of subject caught me entirely off guard. Himatsu-san shot me a highly amused look. I got the distinct sense this little punk was messing with me on
ほら
purpose.
行くって言ってたじゃないですか。
I mean, you told me you were going, right?
ええ、行きました。
Right. Yeah, I stopped by.
何か有益なことは聞けました？
Find out anything useful?
聞けたような、聞けないような。
Kind of, but not really. Himatsu-san smirked like he has seen it coming.
俺の姉、久松のり子って言うんですけど。
See, my sister, her name's Hisamatsu Noriko?
ええ、
Yeah.
以前201号室に住んでいたんですよ。
She used to live in apartment 201. What?
201号室。今、
Apartment 201.
結城さんが住んでる部屋にね。
Your apartment.
それって一体。
Wait, but oh. Just then I remember Hira-kun had told me a young woman by the name Himatsu lived in 201 before me. As it dawned me, Himatsu-san's expression shifted.
それは聞いたんですね。
So they told you, huh?
いえ、久松さんのお姉さんだとは知らなかったけど。
They didn't tell me she was your sister, though.
じゃあ、あの部屋が姉をあんな風にしたことは？
Did they tell you what the apartment did to her? What was that supposed to mean?
あんな風にってどういう意味？
What do you mean? What do you mean by that exactly? Evidently, Himatsu-san had anticipated my question. Grinning, he shot me a double thumbs up.
ここじゃなんですから、場所変えましょう。
What do you say we get out of here? Despite its age, Hashida General Hospital had clearly invested a fair bit of money on its facilities. In the center of the connecting corridor between the newly built internal medicine wing and the patient ward in the north wing, there sat a fancy little terrace, a hanging garden of sorts. Beyond, I can see a patient rehabilitation center with a large physical therapy space. Yeah. The ceiling was paned with glass with like a greenhouse and evidently designed to be left open on sunny days. A pleasant breeze rustled in through the open windows. Damn. Are we dating? I feel like we're dating. I took a seat on the bench next to a small flower bed, and Himatsu-san handed me one of the canned coffees he had bought from the vending machines on the way here. But he didn't open his. Instead, he kept his eyes on me. It doesn't look like he looked like it. That's funny. They're fucking hilarious. Looking at him up close, I realized he was actually rather handsome. Maybe he had shaved and got a nice pair of glasses. Alright, anyway.
何でしたっけ?
So, why are you here again? Why are we here? As a single woman in her 30s, I wasn't used to being stared at so intensely. I attempted to steer the conversation to more productive territory, and Hisamatsu nodded and cracked open his can of coffee.
その前に結城さんに聞きたいことがあるんですけど。
About that, I'd like to ask you something first, if you don't mind. What is it?
昨日のゴキブリって嘘でしょ？
You lied about the cockroach yesterday, didn't you? What? It was hardly a question, rhetorical at best. For a second, I wasn't sure how I was even supposed to respond. Instead, I took a sip of my
本
coffee.
当は何を見たんです？
Be honest, what did you see? Before I could even so much swallow, he asked a second question. Evidently, my younger companion was the impatient type.
そんなにせっかちだと嫌われますよ。
Most people don't appreciate being rushed, you know.
もう嫌われたからいいんです。
Yeah, well, I'm not here to make friends. Excuse me? I looked at him sharply and found him staring firmly back. His steely expression contrasts sharply with his casual tone.
聞かせてくださいよ。あなたが見たものが姉が見たものと同じかどうか。
Tell me, I need to know if you saw the same thing my sister
ど
did.
ういう意味？
What do you mean?
言ったままです。あの部屋が姉をこんなところに押し込める原因になりました。
I mean what I said. That apartment got her committed here.
俺はあの部屋に何があるのか知りたい。それだけです。
So I want to know what's lurking in 201. That's all. Yeah, you and me both, I thought.
手を見ました。
I saw a hand.
手？
A hand? Hold on, let me give a few moments for this fucking music though.
ええ。最初は窓をバンって叩く音が聞こえて、それからベランダの仕切り壁のあたり。
Yes, at first I heard something hit my window, and then I saw a hand on the balcony divider wall. From there I told him everything that happened since the day I moved in. I explained how I've seen a hand reaching out from inside 202, only for the apartment itself to be revealed as empty. Then I talked to... then I'm going to talk to the hand. No, then I talked about the hand I seen last night and finally the series of events that had led me here. It felt like a ridiculous long story considering it all started just 2 days ago.
俺の姉、ここに入院してるんですけどね。
So my sister, I told you how she's staying here, yeah? After I finished my story, Hisamatsu began to tell his. Bit by bit, his tone uncertain.
3ヶ月しか持ちませんでした。
That's not bad. She only was 3 months. Okay, so this grandma could make as $30,000 a year. Not much. Two more. 3 months, but
結城さんが来る少し前まで、あそこは姉が勤めていた銀行の借り上げになってたんですけどね。
before you moved in, the apartment was leased out to the bank where my sister used to work.
借り上げをやめたのは単純に更新時期が来て、なおかつ姉のことが広まったせいで、あそこに住みたがる人間がいなくなったからです。
But by the time the lease agreement expired, no one was willing to live there anymore. Not after they found out what happened to her, Noriko.
あの部屋で一体何が？
So what happened?
姉があの部屋に住み始めたのは去年の春からでした。
It all started last spring when she first moved in. Last spring, Hisamatsu Noriko was forced to move after her job transferred her to another branch. The living space allocated to her felt too large for an unmarried woman. But she was too busy with work to look for a better place for herself, so she ended up staying right where she was, in the Charlotte Romaine Apartments 201. She didn't notice anything strange until about 2 weeks had passed. she was a busy woman, so it was entirely possible she simply overlooked anything weird happening prior to then. But one day she was drying her laundry on the balcony. She noticed handprints, dozens of handprints all over her sliding glass door.
やだ。何これ。
Oh god, how did these get here? Noriko hadn't had any visitors to her apartment since moving in, and she was told the apartment next to hers was empty. She wondered if it was evidence that someone had been trying to break in. She was so creeped out, she called the landlady and then the police to come and look at it. But there was no proof that anything had been stolen or anything that could prove how long the prints had been there in the first place. In the end, the police could only promise to hide in their patrols. But even after that night, strange happenings continued to plague our life.
最初は俺、姉ちゃんが疲れてるんだと思ってたんですよ。もしくは、たちの悪いストーカーにあったって。
At first, I figured it was just the fatigue getting to her, or maybe a weird stalker or something. The banging noise were localized to her window at first, but over time it moved to the walls of her closet. What started as a few taps escalated in hours and hours of noise all night long. But no matter how much she suffered, the landlady continued to shrug it off, insisting the apartment next door was empty. She begged her porter to let her move out, but they refused to break the lease
2ヶ
agreement.
月くらい経った頃かな。
Then, about 2 months in,
大悟、お願い、助けて。もうこれ以上こんなところに住めないわ。
Daigo, I'm begging you, please help me. I can't live here anymore.
住めないってどういうことだよ。まだ引っ越したばっかりだろ。
What do you mean, you can't live there? Didn't you only just move in?
壁から誰か出てくるの。多分女の手が。どうしよう、大悟。
Someone's coming out of the walls. I think it's a woman's hand. Daigo, what do I do? It came out of the walls.
詳しいことはわからないんですけどね。
I don't know the details, but
その頃にはもう姉は見る影もなく痩せこけて、実際に何が起こったのか詳しく聞ける余裕はなかったんです。
the next time I saw her, she was practically a skeleton. There was no time to hash out the details of what had happened. After missing work for 2 weeks straight, Noriko was taken to the Hashida General Hospital due to extreme malnourishment and sleep deprivation. The next time she woke, it was clear she had lost her sanity. Oh my god.
姉を最初に発見したのは俺だったんですけどね。部屋はひどいありさまでした。
I was the one who found her that day. The apartment was a total
姉がやったと
mess.
思うんですけど、壁中新聞紙が貼られてて、窓なんかガムテープでベタベタで。
My sister, at least I assume it was her, she taped newspapers all over the windows. To the window. Oh, sorry. She taped newspaper all over the walls and covered the windows with duct tape.
リビング
It's
で
a little wow.
ソファーの下に隠れるように倒れてたんです。
I found her passed out, hiding underneath the couch in the living room. A shiver ran down my spine. To think this took place in my apartment. I felt sick to my stomach.
大丈夫ですか？
You're alright? Clearly, I haven't looked as sick as I felt. Hisamatsu-san shot me a sympathetic look. So it was the thing I saw
見
yesterday.
間違いでも何でもないと思います。それどころか、姉に起こったことが繰り返されるなら、もっとひどくなる。
I'm pretty sure you weren't just seeing things. If history repeats itself, then it'll only get worse. Oh god. I was unwilling to unconcile. What the fuck? Incontinence? Anywho, welcome to the ghetto. Bougie ghetto, anyway. Incunts, probably. Myself inside walking a nightmare. A waking nightmare. Fear and panic shot through me, shredding my composure.
すみません。怖がらせるようなことを言っちゃって。
Sorry, I swear. I'm not trying to freak you out.
私が知りたかったことだから。別に久松さんが悪いわけじゃ。
No, no. I was the one who asked. So, that's not your fault. Girl, move out. Take the L. Move back with your family or something. I cursed myself for thinking it might not be so bad. I thought I was playing detective, but in actuality I was just the victim in a horror movie.
何かあったら俺の部屋に避難しに来てください。俺の部屋は何ともないんで。
If anything happens, you can take shelter in 301 with me. It should be safe there. Take shelter?
あ、大丈夫です。
Oh.
俺年上にはとっても紳士的なんで。
Oh, don't worry. I plan to be a perfect gentleman, of course. His tone remained cheery despite the conversation we were having. Just then a thought occurred to me.
そういえば、久松さんってどうしてあの部屋に住んでるんですか？
Come to think of it, Hisamatsu-san, why are you living there in the first place? The man returned a sad
ど
smile.
うしても知りたいんですよ。何が姉をあんな風にしてしまったのか。
I need to find out what broke my sister. I must know.
好奇心にしては危険だと思うけど。
Curiosity killed the cat, you know.
義務かな。両親が結構前に死んで、俺をここまで面倒見てくれたのは姉なんで。
I just feel like I owe it to her, I guess. After her parents died, she was the one who looked after me at that time.
その姉があんな風になっちゃったのに、何もしてあげられなかったから。
But me, I couldn't protect her from whatever it was that broke her mind. He grimaced bitterly, his eye on the can of coffee, his hands trembling.
俺が入居した時って、下の部屋はまだ銀行の借り上げ中で、上の部屋しか空いてなかったんですよ。
When I moved in, 201 was still leased out to the bank, and the only apartments available were the upper floors.
だから301に入ったんです。今度下に住む誰かに何かあった時、手助けができればいいなって。
So I chose 301. That way, if anything ever happened to whoever moved in below me, at least this time, I'd be around to help.
だから昨日すぐに来てくれたの。
So that's why you came down to see me yesterday.
下心もありますよ。
I mean, I have other reasons, of course. My heart skipped a beat, almost like I was a teenager again. But he must have smiled innocently.
手助けをすることで、姉がああなった原因に近づけるかもしれないし、実際ちょっと近づけてるみたいだし。
I figure I could learn more about my sister's trauma if I helped you. And it seemed I was right. Oh. For some reason, I felt the tiniest bit
まあ
disappointed.
そういうわけなんで、何かあったら遠慮なく上に来てください。携帯鳴らしてもらってもいいんで。
Well, anyway, feel free to swing by or give me a call anytime you need me.
ところで、
Look
久
at
松
me
さ
a
ん
little
自身
sweet.
が掴んでる独自情報とかもないん
Just
で
a
す
little
か？
bit. Tugging her heartstring. I will. By the way, have you managed to find any leads on your own?
私よりは長くあそこにいるんだから。
That's true.
何か知って
That's
そ
some
うだけど。
good question to ask him. You lived there longer than I have, so I figured you might know something. Hisamatsu-san smirked.
あるにはありますよ。
Fucking bitch. Yeah, you can say
教
that.
えてくださいよ。こうなった以上、
Mm-hmm.
情報は
Ten
できるだ
toes
け共
down.
有しないと。
Ten toes down. Get him. Would you mind sharing with me? At this point, I think we ought to pull our resources as much as
じ
possible.
ゃあ一旦帰りましょう。俺もいつもそういうものを持ち歩いてるわけじゃないんで、 見せたいものがいくつかあります。
Alright then. I don't have it on hand, but so let's head back to my place. I got a few things I'd like to show you once we get there. With that decided, Hisamatsu-san finished his coffee in one swallow. Like a bird. The sun had started to set by the time we made it back to the complex. Mercifully, it was still light out for now, and after everything that happened yesterday, the thought weighed heavily on my mind. But as we turned into the parking lot, my attention was promptly pulled elsewhere. What the?
引っ越しですかね。
Looks like someone's moving out. Hisamatsu-san peered through the passenger side window at the large truck occupying one quarter of the lot. It was much louder than any delivery truck that was certain.
どこに止めようかしら。
Where did I park? As it happened, the truck had situated itself directly over my assigned parking spot.
俺降りてざっと見てみます。人の出入りがあるから
Let me hop out
玄
and
関
take
口
a
を見れ
quick
ばわか
look.
るでしょうし。
Whoever it is, we should be able to see them hauling stuff out.
Ah, お願いします。
Okay, sounds good. With that, Hisamatsu-san hopped off out of the car and craned his neck up at the complex. Yeah, what if they get like written up or tickets? It's like you're in the way. Okay, nearly all the apartment doors were visible from his position. Just then, Hisamatsu-san gaze, my god. Hisamatsu-san's gaze settled in a single direction. Had he seen them? His expression was hard as stone.
どこかわかりました？
Did you see them? I quickly rolled down the window to call out to him, but he didn't respond. Instead, he walked right up to the driver's side door and opened it.
あ、
What? What are you? He grabbed me by the shoulders, urging me to get out.
203です。
It's 203.
え？
What?
引っ越してるのは203です。
203 is moving out. I understood immediately. Apartment 203 was directly adjacent to 202, and with 201, 203 repeatedly withdrew a lot of tenants. Without pausing to kill the engine, I whipped off my seatbelt as fast as I could, jumped out of the car, and dashed up to the second floor. On the way up, I passed a handful of movers carrying furniture downstairs. Once I reached 203, I found the door wide open. I ran up right as a man, likely the tenant, was on his way out. He appeared to be in his early 40s. What the fuck? 40s. He appeared to be in his early 40s. He had a washcloth around his neck and a cardboard box in hand. As soon as he spotted me, he shot me with a suspicious look.
お引っ越しですか？
Yes. Sorry to bother you. Are you moving out?
見ての通りですけど。
Yeah. As you can see, his tone was gruff and defensive. He seemed tired. This was the first time meeting him, but I could tell he was worn out. As I lingered on the spot, his gaze turned
ま
hostile.
だ何か用ですか？
Okay, rude. Can I help you, lady?
私201に昨日引っ越してきたものなんですけど。
Actually, see, I just moved into apartment 201 yesterday.
201？
201. That got us attention.
はい、まだご挨拶してなかったからご存知ないとは思いますけど。随分急なお引っ越しのようですね。
Yeah, probably don't recognize me since I haven't had the chance to introduce myself. Anyway, are you sure to seem moving out of a bit of a hurry, huh?
別にあんたには関係ない。邪魔だからどいてくれ。
Oh, he said it's none of your business, alright. Now kindly get out my way.
邪魔って
Ooh, that's a little bit southern. Because I made it sound southern. Excuse me, hey. Talk about a bad attitude. The man forced his way past me, cardboard box in arms. After witnessing the exchange, Hisamatsu-san turned back to the
とりあえ
stairs.
ず車のことだけ言ってきますよ。
お願いできます？
Would you? Thanks. He nodded and he was about to head off when he froze, his gaze focused on something behind me. I turned to find a woman, likely the man's wife standing the entrance to 203.
何か
Did you need something?
私昨日201に引っ越してきた結城と言います。
Oh, hi. My name's Yuuki. I moved into 201 just yesterday.
はあ
I see. She looked at me fearfully. As with her husband, she was carrying a cardboard box through hers were
今
smaller.
外出から帰ってきたところなんですけど、その下にトラックが止まってたもので。
I just got back from running errands and the truck outside is kind of in the way.
あ、車ですね。あと少しで引っ越しが終わりますから、少し待ってください。
Oh, I see. You need your parking spot. Sorry for the wait, but I promise we're almost done here. She timidly moved past me.
ずいぶん急な引っ越しですね。お仕事の都合か何かですか？
This move seems a bit sudden, don't you think? Change of jobs or something? At this, she visibly flinched.
ええ、そんなもんね。
Yes, something like that. Her voice was shaking, as was the rest of her. I could see her fingers tightening around the edges of her cardboard box.
一旦202の駐車場に避けときますから。
Okay, well, I'll just park in 202 space for now. This little comment was far more effective than I had anticipated. The instant 202 left my lips, the woman practically jumped out of her skin. Her box tumbled to the floor. I heard a dull crunch as the item inside shattered, but the woman was trembling too violently to notice. Hisamatsu-san scooped up the boxes and handed it to her. Just then, her husband reappeared behind her.
おい久江、荷物はそれで終わりか。
Hey, he's saying. Is that the last box? But Hisei didn't respond. The man took one look at his scared, shaking wife and
お
paled.
い久江、どうした？久江、あんたら何か久江に言ったのか？
Hisei, what's the matter? Hisei, what did you people say to my wife? The man looked about ready to deck Hisamatsu-san in the face, but this bespectacled youth answered
い
calmly.
え、車が止められないから202に避けときますからというつもりがこうなってしまったんです。
Always said that we'd be waiting in 202's parking spot until you're finished. It was the truth after all. Thankfully, Hisamatsu-san had my back while I was too flustered to respond. Meanwhile, the man's expression softened.
ああ、いや、もう終わりますから。あと少し待っててください。
Oh, alright. We're nearly done now, so just sit tight for a little longer, please. An awkward tension hung in the air. Just then, a voice called out from inside 203.
高橋さん、壁と窓の新聞はどうしますか？剥がします？
Why is his name Matt Carolin? Takasan, what would you like us to do about the newspaper on the walls and windows? Tear them down? It must have been one of the movers trying to help expedite the process, but Mr. and Mrs. Takashi reacted violently.
剥がすな！
Oh? Who said laser? Curious, I peered inside and froze. Based on what I could see, the layout of their apartment was identical to mine, but their living room was completely covered with newspaper. Panicked, the man dashed back inside the apartment, then turned and nodded to
もう
us.
少しで終わりますからちょっと下で待っててください
We're nearly done here, so just wait downstairs for us, would you? Without waiting for a reply, the man slammed the door shut and began to scream at the moon.
剥がすな剥がすんじゃない
Leave it where it is. Don't you touch it. Meanwhile, the three of us, myself, Hisamatsu-san, and Takashi-san's wife, treaded down to the first floor. Get ready for the next battle. Once we arrived back at the parking lot, Hisan-san loaded her box into the truck, then sat down on the bumper. She looked so exhausted, I couldn't help but reach out to her.
何かあったんですか?
Bro, leave her alone. She looked at me weakly, her lips twitching. Was she trying to
あ
smile?
の新聞紙どうしてあんなに貼ってるんですか
What made you put those newspaper up like that? I heard Hisamatsu-san called out from behind me. His shadows stretched across the asphalt as the sun continued to decline beyond the horizon.
もう引っ越すからいいわよね別に
Gonna go ahead and tell me, girl? Alright. Well, I suppose it doesn't really matter now that we're moving. Over her shoulder, I saw the landlady walking to 208. What the fuck? 203. Maybe she wanted to say one last goodbye to her
あ
tenant.
なた201に入ったって
You said you moved into 201? I nodded.
はい昨日入居しました
Yes, just yesterday, in fact.
そうかわいそう
Yeah. Oh, you poor thing. You have no idea you have gotten yourself into. No, because if we did, we would be in a situation. Her impending freedom seemed to bolster her courage to speak.
私たちはね1年我慢した
A whole year?
あの地獄
Wow. We endured that hell for a year, an entire year of it.
ここしばらくはビジネスホテル暮らしだったけ
Well, we've been living out of a business hotel for a
ど
while
もう
now.
1日だって我慢できない
I just couldn't take another day in that monstrous place. She attempted another smile, though whether out of scorn or fear, I wasn't certain.
何があったか教えてもらえませんか
Could you tell me what happened? Shit, I kinda wanna know, you know? I don't know. I think I already know. It's one of those type of deals.
話しても
Are you sure about that? Ooh, that's what she's asking. Of course. This is what she wants to fucking do. Hisan's voice shook. It sounded less than like a request for permission, more like a
聞い
warning.
ても聞かなくても
Shots.
見るものが一緒なら聞いておいた方がいいです
I'm going to have to go through it either way, so I might as well know what I'm against. It was the honest truth, and it was the sentiment that motivated me into all of that legwork today. Hisane glanced at me. Her expression was out of pity. Then she went back to staring at her hands.
女がね染み出してくるのよ
There's a woman. She seeps through the walls.
染み出してくる
She seeps through the walls?
壁からね少しず
Slowly,
つ少しず
bit by bit, inch by inch. I tried to picture it, but I couldn't. It just didn't make any
つ勇
sense.
気があるの私たちが出た後に壁
壁の新聞紙を剥がしてみたらいいわ。
Once we're gone,
言った意味がわかるか
you should go pull the newspaper down from the walls. If you're feeling plucky, then you see.
窓の新聞紙は
Oh, there's nothing in here. Do you really want to hurt me? No. Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? What about from the windows? Hisamatsu-san, who had been quiet for some time, finally spoke, but I had a feeling I knew the answer.
手がね
Her hand.
手
Whose hand?
女の手が窓を這い回る。カーテンを閉めてもその裏を這い回る。
The woman's hand. It crawls over the windows, and even if you close the curtains, you'll still see it. A shiver ran down my spine. Hasane hopped off the truck and walked over to me as if she sensed my fear. Then she pulled something from her pocket and pushed it into my hands.
大家さんに内緒で作った合鍵。あの部屋にあるものを見たら、何が起こるか分かったら、どこかに避難した方がいいわ。
The landlady doesn't know I made the spare key. Once you've seen it, once you know what's coming, you should take shelter somewhere else.
少なくとも夜の間だけでも。
Bro, okay. Sorry. I was sent a video, like a TikTok video. This girl was drying, this lady was drying out wigs, right? And the video said, like, what did it say? Thank you to the girls who got into a fist club last night. She snatched their wigs. Granted, they lost their wigs from fighting. This lady snatched them up, washed them, and took their wigs. Girl, how could you do that? Okay. At least during the night, her voice was quiet, yet impassionate. Moved by her entreaty, I cupped my right hand around hers. Moments later, I felt a small metal object land in my palm. I looked down at my hand to find myself holding a key, one that looked very familiar to my own.
なぜ私に
Why are you giving this to me?
本当はそういうの専門の雑誌社に売る予定だったの。でも
Ooh.
その記者が来なくなったから無駄になっちゃった。
To tell you the truth, I was planning to sell it to a paranormal magazine publisher, but that journalist stopped coming around, so I have no use for it now. I wasn't sure what to say. The key felt heavy in my hand. I could feel it practically begging to be used.
おい久江行くぞ
Come on, he now say. We're leaving. At the sudden voice, I realized her husband was standing beside the moving truck. Behind him, I could see the landlady heading back to her house, looking quite displeased. The man looked over at
す
me.
いませんねもう出ますから
Sorry, but we've got to go now. Then he headed into his car and hopped inside as if he was washing his hands of the place entirely. Hisane-san watched him go, then turned back to
じゃ
us.
あお元気で。
Well, this is goodbye. Stay safe.
高橋さんもお元気で。
Oh, you too. Oh, you too. Takashan. With a wave, she turned and climbed into her husband's car. No sooner had the passenger door shut than the car backed up and took it out of the parking lot, followed by shortly the moving truck. Left alone under the red glow of the sunset, I stared down wordlessly at the key in my hand.
車動かそうか。
Want me to park your car for you? His word brought me back to reality with a start.
大丈夫
No, I can do it. I head over to my car, all while gazing up at apartment 203. The Takashi's family fearful expression lingered in my mind.
剥がすな。
Leave him. Leave them. What on earth were they so afraid of? Stuffing the key in my pocket, I climbed into the driver's seat. You know, sometimes you're just gonna go ahead and be a little spooky, you know?
その鍵どうするんですか？
So, what are your plans for the keys? I parked my car in the complex parking lot and hopped out.
203の鍵のこと
You mean the one to 203? Obviously, that was what he meant. Hisamatsu-san nodded and looked up at the
そ
second
んなに
floor.
急ぐこともないとは思うけど、もし明日ハウスクリーニングに入ったら、その鍵があっても意味がないでしょ。
He had a point. Oh, fuck, I didn't read it. Long story short, that's true. While it was unlikely she would be able to fill the vacancy anytime soon, I knew that there was always exceptions, myself included. Myself, for example. The apartment would be clean, the newspaper would be taken down, and eventually it will be as though nothing strange has ever happened. At that point, I would lose any chances I've learned of exactly what had taken place there. Assuming another tenant like Takashi-san didn't turn up, that
行きま
is.
しょうよ。俺もついてくから。
Let's just go. I'll be right there with you. Easy for you to say, I thought.
でももうすぐ暗くなっちゃう
Yeah? But it's almost dark, you know?
暗くなったらもっと行けなくなるよ。行くなら今のうち。
Yeah, and once it's dark, we'll lose our nerve. So we should just make it quick. Okay, we're taken. Okay, point taken.
さあ行きましょう。
Come on, let's go.
あちょ
Hey. Whoa. Hey. Apparently he wasn't about to take no for an answer. Hisamatsu-san slung her arm. Hisamatsu-san slung an arm around my shoulder and set off towards the main entrance. I found myself having to half jog to keep up with his stride.
ちょっと待って久松さん
Slow down, Hisamatsu-san.
第5でいいですよ。
slow down. Call me Daigo.
あいやそんないきなり慣れ慣れしい
Isn't it a little early to get that personal?
同じ謎を追う戦友でしょ。気にしない気にしない。
We're partners in We're partners in this investigation, aren't we? No
あ
biggie.
なたは気にしなくても
Maybe not to you. That's another story to me, actually. But before I can get those words out, he suddenly came to a stop. We had arrived at a freshly vacant apartment 203. The door seemed to tower menacingly before us, impeding our path.
ゆうきさん、鍵。
The key, Yuki-san. Like a dog.
あ私のことは名字でいいんだ
Oh, so I have to use your first name, but you're going to use my last name?
だって名前聞いてないですし。
I mean, you sort of never told me your first name. Come to think of it, he had a point. That said, I had the feeling that telling him my name was tantamount to letting him win. So instead, I pulled the key out of my pocket and silently handed it to him.
俺が開けるんですか?
Yes. You want me to open it? Yes. I nodded and he plucked the key from my palm. Just like that, my hand felt worlds lighter.
誰が開けても一緒ですよ、こんなの。
I guess it doesn't really matter who opens the door.
久松さんは怖くないの?
Are you scared, Hisamatsu-san?
第5。
Hisamatsu-san.
怖いですよ。俺も人間ですからね。
Daigo. And yeah, I'm scared. I'm human too, you know. Contrary to his claim, he promptly stuck the key in the lock and rotated it. There was a small metallic click as the cylinder turned. He put the key into his pocket, then grasped the doorknob. Behind us, the sunset was fading fast. It will only get darker from here.
久松さん、大丈夫?
You okay, Hisamatsu-san?
第5だってば。
Hisamatsu-san.
大丈夫じゃないけど、大丈夫です。
Daigo.
結城さんこそ大丈夫?
And not really, but sure. Never been better. What about you?
大丈夫じゃないってば。ちっとも。
Of course not. Not even the
じゃあ行
slightest.
きましょう。
Perfect, let's go. What part of this is perfect? Sarcastic girl. Before I could retort, Hisamatsu-san twisted the knob. Twist it. The door swung open with a dull metallic groan, and he's promptly walked right in.
どうせクリーニングに入るから。
Guess we won't need necessarily worry about our shoes if the floor is going to get cleaned anyway. Hisamatsu-san stepped inside without pausing to take his shoes off. I followed suit. Darkness fell over as I shut the door behind me. There was plenty of daylight left outside, and yet the interior of the apartment was dark as night. It's pitch black in here.
新聞紙貼ってるからだよね。
I bet the newspapers were blocking out the light. Of course. I remember the newspaper I seen covering all the windows. Still, we needed a light source if we were going to investigate anything. I moved to the door
待っ
again.
て、明かりならあるから。
When did he get the light? Wait, I got a light right here. As he smoked. Oh my god. As he spoke. Hold on. I had a cough for a little bit. I'm like, looking really, really pretty. The store and the Fallon Wake and the musical. How did you do like 2.5 hours? He probably just zoomed through it like I gotta read. As he spoke, a small beam of light suddenly flared to life before me, and I realized he was using the flash app on his cell phone. With further ado, Hisamatsu-san walked to the windows and unceremoniously tore down the newspaper. The light of the sunset filtered into the room all at once, brightening our surroundings considerably. Emboldened by the last rays of daylight, I moved further into the apartment. I debated taking my shoes off, but ultimately decided against it. Meanwhile, Hisamatsu-san continued to tear down the newspaper indiscriminately, but as I approached, he suddenly fell still.
どうしたの?
What's wrong?
同じだ。
It's the same. His voice was so faint it wasn't clear whether he actually heard my question. I don't even know. He stared wide-eyed at the window pane.
同じって何が?
What's the same? Hands on the feet. Hands on the feet. I followed his gaze to the window, but couldn't see much. Beyond the window lay the balcony. It didn't look particularly damaged or dirty, minus some handprints on the... Handprints? Oh god. I heard my voice shift up an octave. Hisamatsu-san's figure trailed over the glass. That's when I realized...
姉ちゃんの時と同じだ。
This is exactly how it was for my sister. The handprints were outside the glass. Illuminated by the sunset, I could see dozens and dozens of them. But why would the culprit hit the window in the first
暗
place?
くなる前に壁も見るか。
Let's check the walls before it gets too dark. Just then, I noticed that the sun had set almost completely. Himatsu-san straightened up and moved to the nearest newspaper-covered wall.
本当に剥がすの？
Are you sure about this?
そのために入ったんでしょ。
It's the whole reason we came here, isn't it? Standing behind him, I couldn't see his expression, but I can tell his shoulders were stiff.
剥がしますよ。
Here he goes. Here goes. Here goes. His deep. Oh, let me rewind that. I don't know. I want to do that. Here it goes. His voice wavered faintly. Glancing at. Oh my god. I am no voice actor. If I sound dumb, I have no practice. That should be fine and dandy. Glancing at me over his shoulder, he reached up high with one hand. His fingers clamped around the top of the newspaper, and then he whipped his hand down in one fluid motion. A loud ripping sound rent the air as the newspaper tore all the way down. With Himatsu-san standing in the way, I couldn't really see the wall. A strangled groan escaped his lips as he froze, rooted to the spot.
久松さん
I couldn't bring myself to get any closer. I knew I needed to see the wall for myself, but I couldn't take a single
ね
step.
え久松さんどうしたの？
Himatsu-san, what's the matter? In response to my question, Himatsu-san shrugged visibly.
こりゃ引いて。
This is nuts. He stumbled backwards, and I caught a glimpse of something over his shoulder. There looked to be some sort of stain on the white wallpaper.
何？
Huh? What's that? I still couldn't make out from here. Finally, I took a step forward, breaking myself shoulder to shoulder with Himatsu-san. A scream welled up at the back of my throat, but Himatsu-san quickly clamped a trembling hand over my mouth.
ダメだ、静かに。
Don't, we need to be quiet. I stood, knees shaking, too fixated on the walls to listen. Himatsu-san pulled me into an embrace, as if it was to shield me from the sight.
落ち着いて。俺が言えた義理じゃないけど、落ち着いて。
Calm down. I know I'm not the one to talk, but just calm down for me, okay? That's... I could hear the squeak in my voice. It felt like the scream was still clogged in my throat. Even with Himatsu-san blocking the way, I could still see the wall in my mind, clear as day. That's a woman. A strange stain stood out in a bold relief on the wall. A stain in the shape of a woman with disheveled hair and hatred in her eyes.
Hi, どうぞ。
Here you go. Himatsu-san set a mug down in front of me. Mechanically, I picked it up, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted up to greet
ミ
me.
ルクと砂糖いります？
Need any milk or sugar? I slowly shook my head, and he sat down on the opposite side of the coffee
少
table.
しは落ち着きました？
Feeling a little calmer now? Taking a sip of his own coffee, Himatsu-san spread something out on the table. I glanced over to find out what happened to be a series of newspaper clippings. From there, my gaze wandered around the room. Beyond the dark gray curtains, a masculine color to be sure, I could see the darkness of night that had set in. For a split second, I pictured the woman's baleful eyes peering back at me from beyond the shadows, and reflectively I looked away.
さすがにちょっときつかったですね。
Yeah.
あれは。
Pretty gruesome back there, huh? Hell yeah. When you saying shit like that. He folded a knee up to his chest and oh god. He folded his knee He folded a knee up to his chest and leaned his chin against it. Evidently, he read my mind. He closed his eyes as is in recollection. The fuck? Personally, I didn't want to remember it. The dark shadow spread all over the pale wallpaper. Its eyes, twisted with hate. As the memory threatened to rear its head, I hastily took a sip of my coffee. In my rush, I had forgotten to taste the temperature of the drink beforehand. I could feel my lips and tongue burning.
大丈夫?
You okay? I looked over to find him staring at me. The two of us had dashed out of apartment 203 and without even pausing to lock the door behind us, headed straight for the 3rd floor. We already made plans to swing by his place anyway, so I guess it worked out. I absolutely had no desire to stay in my apartment alone. Once we got here, Hisamatsu went out of his way to help me calm down. Without his help, I probably could have lost it entirely. And entirely is way too long. Like, this is not really fucking needed. Not needed at all. Like, it's kind of scary and kind of like weird. It's all like weird as heck at the same time, but it's perfectly okay. Hopefully it's okay. Doesn't feel like it's okay.
大丈夫。ごめんなさい。取り乱して。
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry for freaking
無理
out.
もないと思いますよ。俺もちょっとやばかったし。
Hey, I don't blame you. I was pretty freaked out myself. I took another sip of coffee, and it felt the hot, bitter fluid warm my stomach. Finally, I had recovered my composure.
資料見ます?
Why he's always offering to do stuff like, hey, you want to do this, do that? Want to look through my files? Hisamatsu gestured at the peppers. Hisamatsu gestured at the papers spread across the table. I must have looked noticeably calmer.
そうね。そのためにお邪魔したし。
Might as well. I mean, that's why we're here. Upon first glance, Hisamatsu-san's newspaper clippings all appear to pertain to the same event. This is the CEO. Female college student goes missing. M City, Maebara. Police investigation after Yumihara Moto-san, age 20, went missing on the morning of the 20th. Moto-san attended J University. According to a friend, she went missing shortly after a phone call a few hours prior around midnight. Missing college student found dead in the mountains. M City, Maebara. Missing college student Yumihara Motoko-san, age 20, was found dead on the morning of the 1st by local hitchhiker Fujiwara Shinya-san, age 43. I almost got the pronunciation right. Woo. Police have ruled the deaths a suicide after discovering a rope tied to a tree branch on the scene. As of today, her remains are to be sent back to her family. In City Maebara, the very town where our apartment complex was located. I read through the rest of the clippings, and sure enough, they were all related to the missing college student.
この記事は?
What's so special about this case? I looked over at Hisamatsu-san. He took a sip of his coffee, then set his mug down on the table.
その記事見て何か気づきません?
Take another look. Notice anything? Hell
ど
no.
ういうこと?
Huh? What do you mean? I carefully read over the clipping one more time. Suddenly something caught my eye.
大学って久松さんの大学院?
Wait, J University? Isn't that the same university your grade school is affiliated with? Hisamatsu-san snapped his
で
fingers.
す。ちなみに俺大学も J 大です。その記事の5年前、俺は1回生でした。
Bingo. I attended the same university myself, enrolled about 5 years before the date of the article. which meant he was now somewhere around 23 years old. So young. I felt my gaze narrow down with a hidden envy, but Hisamatsu-san
結
continued.
構覚えてるんですけどね、その事件。大学に警察が来たりして大変でした。
I remember quite a bit about the incidents, actually. There were cops crawling all over campus. It was nuts. Wow.
姉ちゃんがあんなことになって、俺なりに調べてみたんですよ。あの部屋のこと。
Wow. After what happened to my sister, I poked around a bit. I tried to dig up whatever I could about that
そ
apartment.
したら、ちょうどサークルの先輩にその人の友達がいて、その人、素子さんが当時、202号室に住んでたことが分かったんです。
As it happened, a guy in my club knew someone who was a friend with her, and then I found out maybe Makoto-san lived in the apartment 202 at the time.
つまり202号室の会議はこの事件と関係があ
I
るって
would
こと
too. You think that apartment 202 has something to do with this case?
まだ憶測の範疇ですけどね。でも、時期的にはぴ
Why
った
would
り
you
だ
just
し、
chop it up to that?
妙なことはいくつか
That's
ある
so
んですよ
fucked。up. It's just a pet theory I have. But the time frame matches up perfectly, and there are a few weird little
妙な
details.
ことって
Such as, I leaned across the table without realizing it, and Hisamatsu-san did the same thing.
一つは、素子さんには自殺の動機がない。その先輩が言ってたけど、彼氏もいて成績もそれなりに良くて、大学生活は上々だったそうで。
One, Makoto-san had no motive to kill herself. According to the club, my clubmate, she had decent grades and a boyfriend. The perfect college life.
他には
Okay,
ルー
and
ムメイトの存在。
she had a roommate.
ルームメイト
A roommate? In other words, she shared her living space with a total
素
stranger.
子さんにはルームメイトがいたらしいんですよ。
Yes, suppose she lived with someone.
ところが、誰もその姿を見てないし、後で彼女の部屋に入った警察も親族も、その痕跡を見つけることができなかった。
That's kind of weird. But whoever it was, no one ever saw them, and when they investigated her apartment, neither her family nor the police could find any trace of a second person living
そ
there.
のルームメイトがいたって根拠は
Then why would anyone think she had a
俺
roommate?
の先輩が言ってたんです。必ず決まった曜日になると、今日は夕飯の当番だからって早く帰ってたって。
According to my clubmate, on certain days of the week, she leaves school early, claiming she was on dinner duty that day.
彼氏と同棲してたって線は
Maybe she lived with her boyfriend? What? And why would she make it up? It certainly wasn't uncommon for young adults to move in together before marriage.
ところがですよ。素子さんの彼氏がまたその先輩の知り合いなんですけど、彼女の部屋には一度も入ったことがないって。
So here's the thing. My clubmate knew Makoto-san's boyfriend, and according to him, the guy had never even been to her place. I pondered the facts for a moment. 5 years ago, Yumehara Makoto died in a bizarre suicide. She had a roommate, but there was no evidence of another person living there. Was her death the trigger that caused the strange phenomenon to occur around apartment 202?
素子さんが死んだのは5年前で
Wait.
202が貸し出されなくなったのはその直後として
If Makoto-san died 5 years ago and 202 was taken off the market right
部屋で
afterwards,
死んだわけじゃない素子さんがどうしてあの部屋に思いを残してるのかしら
how could her spirit haunt the place if she didn't even die there to begin with? Because she had already died in 202 and it was set up. And she's upset by it.
そこは俺も知りたいところですね。分かってるのは、素子さんの自殺は確実にあの部屋の異常に関係あるってこと。
I wish I had an answer myself. All I know is Makoto-san's suicide definitely had something to do with 202. Yep, and we're gonna find out. I did a lot today, so what I'm gonna do is end this off, and then we're gonna continue this tomorrow. I'm gonna continue this off next time, because either you missed out on the streaming, but this will be uploaded on YouTube. じゃあねー。